And we also think about this child who is born. Nothing wrong with that, and so on. All these thoughts are good, but there is more to it. Deaths are almost always pleasant, but we know there are certain of them that are unpleasant. But this one is particularly pleasant because it announces the coming of one who brings universal delight. And as Ellen and Tim showed us in the skit that they did, comes to meet not some needs, but every need. So that the person who goes on to live in this life dissatisfied, frustrated, or disappointed, destitute, they choose to go that way. Because the God that comes to us in Jesus has come to take away those pains and establish in their stead a hope that does not disappoint, a peace that is hard to understand because it beats all circumstances, and indeed a joy that is unspeakable, inexpressible, and yet real, because that too rides above any situation, any torment, any turmoil, any turbulence, because it springs from a love, from a God that says, to all who find faith in me, I love so that they love back in a love that never ends. And so, let's see that God's ultimate gift to us brings heaven down to us. And that's what really Christmas is all about. Experiencing what we see in forms of feasts, not for a happiness that only endures while the feast lasts, the celebration lasts, the lights are lit up. No, in the dark, in the midst of an earthquake, wherever it is, we're talking about that which beats all those circumstances. It's found in Jesus. And that is very well demonstrated in the gifts that are presented to him. The first gift is that of gold. And we know gold is the chief of all metals. In this particular instance, it speaks to the fact that this Jesus is being presented to us, even though he be a baby, as king. And remember, the Herod who learns about his existence and hears him, magicians, some people call them, the wise men say, we've come to worship this baby king. Immediately gets jealousy and destroys all 2 years and under, that he might stop this little child from coming into power. But that cannot be stopped because the divinely ordained, and what God ordains must come to pass. So Jesus has a beauty about him, much as the gold speaks about beauty, and it has a value, a wealth that is altogether immeasurable. And so you think of the glory of the gold and its supremacy to all else. But this is who exactly Jesus is. When David, who is his human ancestor, was poised to be king, we are told that those who were in debt, those who were sorrowful, those who were troubled, those who came from broken families, those whose hearts were ill addressed, who had various forms of trouble, came to him. A king needed to be a champion of his army, a fighter who wins on behalf of his people, somebody they could rely on, depend on, protect them, provide for them, and preserve them. And David was all that to his people, but we know that he depended on a God who was able to do that. Jesus is that being. So in being presented with this gift, it is being expressed to us that we have this precious gift as the answer to all our hurdles. But just how can a plain human being avail himself to the place where all can come and be fully satisfied, find fulfillment? Well, again, Ellen had it right in her skit. This being is not just an ordinary being. The next gift reveals who he is. they present to him frankincense. And that speaks of worship. He is priest because the offer of frankincense was done by those who were appointed by God to be in between God and men, so that they bring God down to people and they lift up people to God, so that God might find a meeting place with the people when they made their sacrifice. That's why when frankincense is offered, it says the smell came to God. And God now looked down with favor upon the people who had offered that, all right, through the priest. This one is not only to offer it. This one is himself the one to be worshipped. Because notice, when the wise men come, they stoop, they fall prostrate, they kneel, they worship with Jesus. Just as his parents had done, just as the shepherds had done. So he is actually God. And as we read from Revelation, he has the very features and attributes that make God God. He is all-powerful. He is all knowledge. And he is everywhere present. Only God can be like that. And that is why Revelation presents him as one who is worshipped by creatures above the earth, under the earth, in heaven, and if there's anything over heaven, everything worships him. So the same worship that is being given to God the Father is according to this being who at this particular time, we remember as a little baby born in Bethlehem. He is actually God in human form. How wonderful is that? God comes to you and me and says, you may not reach me as a spirit. You may not understand me as a spirit. You may not feel me at that point. You may see me as distance from you. But I come in a form in which you can actually see me, hear me, feel me, and actually associate with me at the point you can say, well, this one is like us. But why does he raise the dead? Why is he sinless? Why does he cure the ill? Why does he do peculiar things? Why is he so distinct from us? Why does there seem to be a halo around his head? Why is his holiness about him? Well, the simple feature is this human king comes in baby form. He's actually God. And he comes in that way to say to you, I come, Lord, to ask you to love me back. Will you? But we have another gift that's given to him. It's a gift of myrrh. Now that is a perfume or an anointment that was used in times of death so that whatever was anointed would be preserved from a stench of rottenness. It's only speaking of the fact that this Christ had come not to die forever, but to beat death forever. What is the cause of death? What is the cause of suffering? What is the cause of shame? What is the cause of disturbance? It is all summed up in one word, sin. Some of us say, well, I'm not bad, but I make mistakes. Some of us say, sometimes just my memory fails me and I don't know what I should do. You may call it whatever you want. Anything that is wrong, God calls a sin. And if it be so small that if I should write, this is an ink bottle, and the wrong is that little dot on top of I, ink, I, and I say, look, my only mistake is that little dot over there. God is so pure that he sees that little dot and he doesn't want it in heaven. And that makes me unfit to enter his heaven, and that makes you unfit to enter his heaven. And because of that, he must find a way of bringing us to himself. And this Christ child is perfect at conception, perfect at birth, perfect in childhood, perfect in adulthood, perfect on the cross, perfect in his ascension, perfect in his intercession, perfect in his reign in heaven, his exaltation, perfect in his return to come and complete the salvation of those that are waiting for him. And so he will perfect those who are waiting for him, because it says, when he returns, we shall be like him, because we shall see him the way he is. Are you waiting for this Jesus? As he came the first time, he will come the second time. But he's only coming to complete the salvation of those who welcomed him in their hearts as a baby. And he has grown in them. And they grow with him. So they become more and more and more and more like him. So at his coming in his glory, they will not shy away because the brilliance is so much they can't stand it. But they look forward to glowing and just reflecting that glory. You know how our naked eyes, even this light can destroy, and we can't look at the naked sun? If you are not right with God now, when Jesus returned in his glory, it will be repulsive to you. Heaven itself will shake you off, and you shake it off, because the two are not compatible. But that which stands right with God now will glow at his return and enjoy, because they have been eagerly waiting for that. But only those who have welcomed the baby child. Will you be that one? That's what Christmas is. He is King, and he is God. And he gives life, not temporarily, but eternal. So what life? And this, says Jesus, is everlasting life, that they might know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom you sent. Oh, how can I know him? I don't know you until I speak to you. I may hear about you, but only when I meet you, have a handshake, have a feel of you, look into your eyes. Then do I say, now I know you. I may not know much, but at least I know. And you only know Jesus when you pause before him and say, Jesus, meet me now. Will he meet you? Yes, he will. How can I say that? It doesn't matter what you say. What matters is the state of your heart. If you're saying, Jesus, here am I, help me. In whatever words you use, you interpret them, and he will meet you now. And you'll have the best Christmas ever. I know you want it. Why don't you pray to him tonight? What are we saying?